Old restream, double check the old YouTube, and then I've got to get better lighting in here. This is driving me crazy. It's funny because it's because the sun's coming in, late afternoon sun's coming in through the window, and I don't do shows at this time. So it's getting everything in balance because I have dark paint and dark paint on the ceiling. So it's not reflecting off the wall and then back. It just goes away. So if I don't have another light source here, or I go to a darker screen, dark paint on the ceiling, so it's not I get a little dark. The wall and then back. There we go. It just all right, goes away. So if I don't have another light source here, or I go to a darker screen, dark paint on the ceiling, so it's not I get a little dark. There we go.
Live on YouTube for the last 2 minutes.
Goes away. Yeah, let's let you talk and let me figure that out.
All right, I don't know if I'm talking to people or just talking to you, but yeah, you do look like you're sitting in the shadows a little bit from where I'm sitting. But
let's let you talk.
This new ring light that I've got is pretty spectacular. It's kind of blinding me, so if I misread stats, that's why. Yeah, you look at least you're the shadow ugly face out there where I'm sitting now.
Let's let you talk.
So, and I don't know if I sound any better, but new microphone in front of me here. So I'm psyched to play the slate, though.
It sounds amazing.
Oh, fantastic. So are we actually live in front of people?
We're good. Yeah. No, it was
rock and roll.
I was hearing us on delay and I couldn't figure out what possible tab was playing the audio. So I had to go through and close them all. And then I realized it was on my article. I had clicked on it so I could get the link to the show to put in the MMA chat, which MMA locks in 14 minutes. If you're not paying attention, you can get caught watching the paint dry there. But I had just clicked on it and left it up, so that was an active audio player. And I'm like, I only have 4 tabs open. What's going on here? So now we know what's going on. All right, well, we have 1 hour to get you guys through a game we have seen 6 times and a game we have seen 5 times, and we've actually seen these pitchers against these teams a mere 5 days ago, because we were at game 7 for Houston and Tampa Bay. If you were watching MMA, you know that that Jason is preparing for the worst, and you know Terry has been ducking and covering because every story out there for the last 72 hours has been talking about the idiots, the 2004 Boston Red Sox, who are the only team to do what, Terry?
Only team to ever come back from down 3-0. And now there's another team that's at least made get to game 7. This is only the second time that's happened. So, yeah, I'm really torn. I hate the Astros right now just for, the cheating and just because they've been good and they've knocked my team out a few times. So it's, some good sports hate going. But at the same time, getting another team on that list of teams that have overcome that deficit and come back to win would be kind of nice. So I don't know who I'm rooting for in this one, but yeah, it's been tough to just have that back in my face. I can still see Dave Roberts leading off of first base with Mo on the hill. And I think I sent the text message to my friend saying this doesn't look good. I didn't mean it to look that bad, but my God.
Yeah, that's a tough one. My team's, defending World Series champion, and then the only team in baseball that's never made it to the World Series and hasn't made a postseason appearance since 2005, I think, 2002, so 2007. It's been a while. It's been a while. Shout out to the Mariners there. But in any event, we got plenty of time here. I'm just calling up my various tabs. We'll take a little bit of a leisurely look through, because we're not going to be doing a lot of supposition with regards to the pitching. We have 4 legitimate starters going. They've all had the rest that they need. Nobody's going on short rest. And despite using most of the bullpens, there's still plenty on all sides that are there. So the only ones I'm worried about a little bit of a quick hook would be Max Fried. And I could see him getting a little bit of a quick hook, but he's still arguably the best Braves pitcher, not named Ian Anderson. And yikes, they don't have anybody else. It's not like their bullpen's better. And then Walker Buehler. Now, the issue on Buehler is not that he's a bad pitcher, but it's that he goes, about 75 to 80 pitches, and he uses them up. Now, he'll get you a bunch of strikeouts, but the innings, they don't keep turning over. He's gone 4-4-5. If I'm remembering correctly, in his last 3 appearances. So looking at this holistically, Are there any relievers that you think are in play today? Just for a differentiation purpose on DraftKings where we have to play two.
I don't think nearly as much. I think the relievers and the pens will play a big part in the baseball aspect of these two games. Particularly, we know how the Rays like to get to those bullpen arms once they've got the lead, put the game away, make it a shorter game and play it that way. So I think some of the Rays guys again could come out of the pen and deliver a couple of fantasy points, but it's very tough to predict right now with just the heavy usage we've seen over the last couple of days. And it's not the kind of a scenario where we have to get to one of these relievers and just kind of have to make guesses like the last few days where we had openers. We had 3 openers going 2 days ago. And then yesterday we had, I think it was 1 opener, but so the scenario is different. We don't necessarily have to get into these bullpens. We could see each of these pitchers go 6 and put up decent starts, and they're more likely to put up big enough scores, even if they don't go very deep into games, that they'll be distinguished enough from anything that a bullpen guy is really going to do for you. So I don't think so, and I don't think the pricing is such that we really need to anyway. It's not like these guys are 11,000. They're in the 7,500 range, the 8,300 range. So I think we can build with the starters that we've got and really not sweat the bullpens too much. I think if you wanted to get to, the high end guys, Kenley Jansen on the back end for the Dodgers or any of the other Dodgers relievers, if you're thinking that Buehler, pitches well and then comes out and they turn it over in the closeout situation, or then you could look into, whichever. I don't have the Dodgers utilization in front of me, but whichever of the Dodgers pitchers from the long relief perspective hasn't gone in the last day or two, that would be my choice there. If you're thinking Buehler comes out after 5,
I can tell
and
you
that would be the one guy that I would expect there.
Yep.
And
so
then,
options we have would be Alex Wood, who has not pitched since Wednesday, and Adam Kolarek, who has also not pitched since Wednesday. Everybody else went yesterday, with the exception of Jake McGee, who went on Thursday for 18, and Dylan Floro, who went Thursday with 35. So
Wood could make a lot of sense.
Would make sense.
Yeah, that would be the guy if they again, and it's a situation where it's if they have to pull Buehler after the 4th for whatever reason, pitch count struggling, et cetera, that makes some sense. He's a guy who's he's started in his career. He's got the length on him, and he could give you a few innings. So yeah, if you're looking to somebody out of that pen, that's probably where I would go. We've seen the Astros go to a number of different guys and get some length out of them. I think Christian Javier went again last night, so I wouldn't expect him. But you've got James in that pen, and he can always give you a couple of innings. A couple of other guys, so
he might be dinged up.
There are bullpen options. Say again.
James might be dinged up.
True. That's true. That's true. And he's gotten a lot of usage on him. So yeah, it's a scenario where I think more of my focus would definitely be on the starters in this one than on the pens.
Okay. And we'll turn, and I just wanted to get that out there just in case people were wondering, you guys have been talking about it for the last 3 days. Well, we don't it's not really in the cards tonight nearly as much as it has been. I do want to point out, Ted Lemoyne did say that Buehler did go 100 pitches in his last start. That is absolutely correct, and he went 95 the one before that. However, what we are seeing is him still only go 4 and 5 innings on those, and that is about 30 pitches more than he threw his last 2 times that he made it 4 innings. So the inning count is the risk. The strikeout upside should offset that. But as we mentioned, the walks, 5, 4, and 2 in his 3 postseason appearances, that's not great. That means base runners. So it feels a little bit like we're playing with fire. I hope we don't have to knock on wood. Don't worry about the blister issue or any of that stuff. I think he's absolutely in play. I don't know that he would qualify for the win. So it becomes a little harder for me to consider him on FanDuel. I'm just playing on DK tonight. But where we're looking for the quality start or qualifying for the win, making up such a huge part of their scoring, that could be a little bit risky. DraftKings, we have to start 2 of the 4 pitchers, and ideally the strikeouts make up for it because they're weighted a little DraftKings. So that was kind of my thoughts on that one. What was
knock on wood deliberate then? Just then?
Yeah, it was. I don't want to do it too loud because my dog will start barking.
We were talking about Wood being the most likely guy coming out of the pen, and then you said knock on wood.
There you go. Look at that. Dad jokes just without even trying. Come out naturally. All right, Ralph Valdez is my favorite now. He says Emac's takes are gold.
Love it.
There we are.
Always.
There we are. Well, I gave you the Cyber Dap on the show. I read off the notes you sent me for the relievers, and gave you full credit the other day after
I appreciated that.
through all of that.
But I appreciated that.
So let's kind of go pitching, and then we'll go hitting, because this is a different makeup of what we've seen in the last couple days. So on the other side, we have Max Fried. So Dodgers have like a 4.4 implied run total. Fried was outstanding on Monday. Game 1 allowed just 1 run. It was on a home run. Struck out 9 across 4 innings. In his last 17 innings, he has 18 strikeouts and just 2 walks. So that's phenomenal. And then, let's see, he has allowed 4 home runs in his last 18 innings, however. Now, one of those was, I don't remember now off the top of my head if he had started and just went 1 inning and gave up 2, or if he had come in relief. But one of them was in a short appearance. So
yeah, that was his last start of the year, I think.
Yeah, and I think they were just like, well, let's get him out. We need it. We're gonna need him. he's now our number 1 pitcher, so we're gonna need him. Now, I bring that up because he had gone 55 innings to start this abbreviated year without allowing a home run. So, yes, regression was going to catch up with him. But even if we just say, those 4 home runs over those, 73 innings or whatever it is, that works out to just a minuscule amount. But did something change? Is the book out on him? What's going on? Or is it just randomness? So how are you feeling about Fried tonight? Because I think these are the 2 guys I'm most worried about not completing the 5th inning.
Yeah, so Fried's a pitcher that I like. What concerns me is his ranking more in where Alex is seeing him. It's not a huge spread between the top starters tool between the very top ranked guy and the very bottom ranked guy, because there's only 4 pitchers to choose from. They're all high quality, but Fried is the bottom of the board there. We're getting a good ownership advantage on him, though, so I think there's enough there in that to justify playing him on DK. You mentioned the home runs, and another thing that I've brought up a few different times, and it kind of follows along that same trend, and it's something that's a little bit more real than limiting home runs, a little bit more repeatable, is what he's done with his ability to limit hard contact and induce soft contact. He was second in baseball among pitchers with at least 50 innings this year in inducing soft contact, 27.2%, behind only Kenta Maeda. And he was third in baseball with allowing only 23.8% hard contact, again, among pitchers with at least 50 innings. That was second to Kenta Maeda and Zach Wheeler. So he is excellent at keeping the ball in the yard. He's very good at keeping it on the ground. He was 53% ground ball rate this year. Had a 2.68 BABIP against, so he got, had hitters getting a little unlucky, hitting balls again on the ground, soft, and two fielders. So his xFIP was a little higher than his ERA, 4.05 xFIP to a 2.25 ERA for the 56 inning sample. But he pitched very, very well. And you mentioned the strikeouts; they're there. So I definitely think he's in play. Dodgers are very good, of course. It's 9th in baseball with a 192 ISO for the season, a 113 WRC plus against lefties. Only struck out 20.7% of the time in the split. And then since the start of 2019, they jump up to 5th with a 202 ISO, a 110 WRC plus, and a 21.5% strikeout rate. So they're okay at limiting strikeouts against lefties, and they put up decent power, decent quality. So it's a tough spot for them, but it's the NLCS. We knew it was going to be a tough spot. So given the ownership advantage on them, I definitely think we can get to Fried here.
All right, I'm going to drop our free tool of the day. It is the top pitchers tool, so that link's coming in there now. You guys can, of course, get to that by going to awesemo.com, look across the top, find MLB, hover over that, pop-up will come up, and pick top pitchers. That is free for today. As Terry mentioned, a bit of a tighter spread, just because there are only 4, so your chances of being in the top 2 are going to be pretty good on this one. So just putting that out there. So here's another one that's kind of fun. So we have Odd Shopper, which is Odd Shopper by Awesemo, which is our sports wagering arm of the Awesemo umbrella. I'm going to drop the link into there. So we have some props for pitchers. So I wish I was able to do this. Betting, Terry, you might be able to in your state. But for Max Fried, Sugar House and DraftKings are both 4.5 on the over/under, with a little bit of juice on the over. BetMGM has made one hell of a stand here. They are saying, so this might be a promotional type bet. They're saying 3.5 as the under with a minus 154. So they are giving you plus 120 with an over of. I'm sorry, that's flipped. Their over is minus 154. They're daring you to take the over. The other sites think it'll be on the under. So
you're talking strikeouts?
Yes. So 3.5 with the over is minus 150. That's harsh.
I got him.
4.5. The under is minus 143. So it's a different way. So if you math it out, your correct answer is where do you think it's going to be? And if you think it's low, you're better off going to the other sides. If you think it's going to be higher, you're better off going to BetMGM. But that allows you to see all of it in one spot. What does your model say? Because I know you like.
I've got him projected for exactly 5 strikeouts.
So you would want to go on to DraftKings plus 112. Gets you 4.5 as the over.
I'm gonna have to do that. Yes. Since I am in a state where that sort of thing is legal.
So just putting that out there, guys. And this is so OddsShopper's pretty cool. It's free. You can create an account. You can set up alerts. You can track your own bets. You can see how you're doing against different things, which is something as the sports are winding down, I want to kind of get into a little bit more because in my state, Virginia, it is legal. We just don't have the mechanics set up yet to do wagers. So just want to put that out there. All right, back to our, let's look at the pitching in our other game. To my notes and see if anything is up here. Let me think. Oh yeah. Is it revenge? I don't know. But we have Charlie Morton going against his old squad. Did you know Charlie Morton made the final out of the 2017 World Series in which the Houston Astros won?
I did not know that.
Yes. So I found that. It's a hat tip. I believe that was in the ESPN game log. Or a game capsule.
So we got cheaters on all sides of this one, is what you're telling me.
Oh yeah, we got it's. So I don't know. What's going on? Is he mad that the team that someone talked? That someone squawked, if you will. So maybe it's going to be this is in San Diego, so it's outside. It's 1:00 or 1:45, I guess, in San Diego. Because they keep changing the times on me. Last night when I wrote it was 1:38. I think it's 1:4. I don't even know what game started. Let's double check here. 4:38. Okay, so it's still the same. I thought it was 45, but based on our start time of our show. But in any event, you've got Morton here. It's going to be in the mid 80s. So I want to point that out. But Morton is probably my favorite pitcher amongst everybody here. Doesn't give up a lot of power. Against same-handed hitters since the beginning of the 2018 season, he has a 101 ISO. That's nothing. 51.8 ground ball percentage. Lefty's done a little better. Still a pretty low 0.166 ISO, but they do have a 1.1 home run per 9. However, he is striking out lefties, so opposite-handed hitters, 34.3% of the time over the last 2+ seasons. I'm leaning towards him. On the other side, we have Lance McCullers, who has an elite ground ball rate of 59.3 against righties and 53% against lefties since the beginning of the 2018 season. Same-handed hitters tend to get him a little bit more for home runs. He also has the ability to get strikeouts, though not as consistently as Morton does. What do you like in our nightcap, our late night hammer? If you
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a tough decision on both sides. It's Morton's a guy I haven't really trusted most of the season, given his struggles early on, given the diminished velocity that we saw early on. But he kind of did round into form. I mean, over the 38 innings, he came up 401 xFIP to the 4.74 ERA. So he was a little bit better under the covers. And guys were getting pretty lucky against him. He had a 3.55 BABIP against. So a lot of balls that just, hit him where they ain't, got through. He only allowed 4 home runs. You mentioned the ability to limit power. Doesn't really get hit for the home run ball too often. 24.7% strikeout. It's down from where he was coming out of Houston with the changes they had made to his spin rate and everything over there, where he picked up a lot of strikeouts. But there's nothing wrong with a 24.7% strikeout rate. So the numbers are they're enough that we can justify the play here, particularly when we're only choosing from between 4 pitchers. His 12.1% swinging strike rate was right around the same as he's been the past few years. So he was getting a similar whiff on his curveball that he was the past few years. So really the only major change to his stuff is the diminished velocity on the fastball. He lost about 1.5 miles of velocity on the fastball, which does make a difference, but he's gotten by with it. The Astros overall this year, 19.8% strikeout rate against righties. So there's not a ton of swing and miss and not a ton of strikeouts in there in that lineup. And then if we go back to 2019, like I've done a lot with this team because of their struggles overall this year, that goes down to a 17.3% strikeout rate. So they're good at limiting the strikeouts over there. And their numbers in that sample, they're 4th overall with a 210 ISO and a 121 WRC plus since the start of last year. So very good offense that Charlie's facing. But yeah, I like the price. I think he's definitely in play. I might lean more to the McCullers side just because I think the Astros lineup is better than the Rays lineup in general. And I think the Rays have more strikeouts available in their lineup with their 26.4% strikeout rate against righties this year. So I think there's upside for McCullers there. They're around the same strikeout percentage. McCullers was 24.7% this year. So right on the same percentage of strikeout rate for the 2 pitchers. He allowed 5 home runs in his 55 innings, a 3.68 xFIP to a 3.93 ERA. So pitched a little bit better than Morton overall for the year. 11.4% swinging strikes, which was actually down from his 2018 numbers. But very, very good against lefties, limiting power, 0.51 home run per 9 against lefties. So he's just a very good pitcher with some good stuff. I think it's a good matchup for him. The Rays against righties, 178 ISO for the season, 104 WRC plus, so above average in creating runs. But I just think that if I'm picking between these 2 lineups, which one do I want to face? I would rather have the guy facing the Rays lineup here. So give me McCullers if I have to choose between these 2 guys.
Okay. That's all very, very reasonable. We're trying to capture some randomness here. Mixing and matching our quartet of pitchers here, especially on the 2-pitcher sites, is the way to go. Sponsor of the show, Yahoo, is a 2-pitcher site. They don't have baseball up tonight. They're working through some back-end issues, but they do have the $200,000 baller out there for tomorrow for NFL. Drop the link to a free article in chat there. You can get the full breakdown, but reminder, they go through the Sunday night football for their main slate. Most sites do not do that at all anymore, and very few sites even have the all-day Sunday contests. DraftKings has a little subset, and FanDuel, I think FanDuel just does through Monday night. So in any event, you want to check that out. It's the way to go. Break it down by position. A little bit of a different strategy over there. It's half-point PPR. You do have one flex spot. You have to play defense, but their pricing is quite unique. It looks more like, wait for it, auction pricing, because the main draw for them is their season-long basis of teams. So if you know what you're doing and looking at those mid-tier and low-tier options, you really want to go and play there. And by the way, Alexander Madison is $14. Just go ahead and start your lineup.
There you go. That's a pretty easy first click.
Yes. I said if I'm building 5 lineups there, I would play him in 4. We are projecting him for about 60% in tournaments. I do want to point that out. And you can play head-to-heads over there. I usually have some posted. I'll get some up in just a moment here. By the time you guys get over there, they will be there. But they have the limiter that just automatically allows 1 person to play you per price level. So nobody can scoop your games. So Yahoo, check it out. All right. Let's circle back to the first game here. What do you like for hitting against... Let's go against Walker Buehler. I think Freddie Freeman, with his over his last 1,400 lefty-righty matchups, he has almost a 14% walk rate. I think that's good against Buehler. I like Marcell Ozuna as well. I liked him the other night, 2 home runs. Woohoo! Rest of my team didn't do very well, but hey, I did get that one right. Those are the 2 I really like. I could probably go with Dansby Swanson, but that's about it that stands out for me. What do you want to do here with the Bravos?
So I've been hitting the Braves pretty hard all year long, as you're well aware, and we've talked about their quality against righties. And since I have the same notes in front of me from the other day, I'll just run through these again real quick. I read these off with Josh on the show the other day. This year against right-handed pitching, the Braves numbers, they're going by ISO. Acuna, 364 ISO, Freeman, 360. Duvall, who's not in the lineup, unfortunately, 294. Darno, 267. Ozuna, 246. Albies, 244. Swanson, 216. These guys brutalize right-handed pitching, even the righties. Most of those guys I just read off are right-handed. Albies is a switch hitter. Freeman's a lefty. The rest of those guys are right-handed, so they handle same-handed pitching very, very well, and they hit it for power. So I'm interested probably in most of the Braves. I think you can get a little sneaky down at the bottom of the lineup still with Christian Pache or Pache, however we're saying it. Nick Markakis, again, is not a quality guy that I really like to get to, but he's under 10% owned and he doesn't cost very much. So you can change things up a little bit with those guys. But it's really about, the guys that I want to get to are the 7 hitters above them, starting with Acuna and ending with Austin Riley in the 7 spot. I can mix and match pretty much any of those guys. You pick my favorite 2 with Freddie Freeman and Marcell Ozuna there. And then I've been on Dansby Swanson all year long, so I definitely think he makes a ton of sense at the shortstop spot. Darno not drawing a tremendous amount of ownership. I mean, he's 25%. He's not up around 40, 50%. So I definitely think he's in play there. So yeah, I like this Braves lineup up and down. There are definitely many, many avenues of this game where Buehler comes out and shuts them down for 6 innings, strikes out 7, 8 hitters. But there's enough upside for this team, particularly with a righty matchup, that I think I can get to a fair amount of Braves here. They'd be a pretty core component of what I was building with today.
Yeah, and I'm voting for Pache, but for him, his price, it's gone up, but it's still 3,300 on DraftKings. He's been a decent option thus far on the season. Let's see.
You see that catch you made last night?
Dude, just the highlights. I wasn't really watching the games. I was doing other things, and then I got carried away, and then I went to bed. I was asleep according to my Fitbit at 9:47. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
really?
It was.
You went to bed at 9:47. I was up for another 12 hours. I got to bed around 10 a.m. Took a little cat nap. But yeah, Pache made a sick catch, robbed the home run basically, and did it in the most casual style I've ever seen. Went up, couldn't tell whether he actually caught the ball, came down, sat, and then just casually took the ball out of his glove like that. And it was just, didn't have no expression on his face or anything.
That's funny. Okay. You see the Taiwanese guy do that. That's been making the rounds on Twitter the last 36 hours.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, basically same thing. Robbed it. Totally went over the fence, robbed it, came back down, and then let the guy run around the bases and then pulled it out.
Let him run. Oh, wow. I don't
like the batter didn't know until he was crossing home, and all of a sudden he's like, wait, what?
Oh, man. That's cruel.
That is
maybe that's where he got it.
Yeah, very cold. Very cold, but
yeah, a little bit.
That's like the version of the you guys aren't even gonna know. Desmond Howard, Michigan, he posed like the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, right.
That's about this decade's version of that. All right, so on the other side we have Freed. So the 2 I'm looking at here, and do we have the lineup? We do, and one of them didn't make it in. So Chris Taylor a little dinged up. So I will go ahead and replace him with Kike Hernandez, who is not quite the lefty killer he was once upon a time, but he's a lot better against righties than he used to be. So I'm good with him and AJ Pollock for a little differentiation down there on the back end going against Max Fried. I also am counting on their second at-bat against him being against a more tired Max Fried. So if I'm going to be searching for a home run, and as we mentioned, 4 in his last 18 innings, 4 on the whole shortened season, but maybe something has changed. That's what I want to capture it for. The rest of the All-Star team, the Dodgers lineup is perfectly fine, but we're looking for a little differentiation. Those would be the 2 guys I would like to call out. We still have, 25 minutes to lock? What would you like to do with the Dodgers? They all deserve about 5 minutes, don't they?
Nothing really to say about these guys. Bunch of slubs. Pollock is definitely a guy I like to get to a lot, and only 21% owned again. So he just does not get a ton of ownership down the bottom of the lineup. And then looking at Cody Bellinger's number, he's under 5K on DraftKings, under 15, just over 15% owned, I should say, 15.7% ownership. Similar ownership number at only 4,300 over on FanDuel. He's one of the best hitters in the league. I know he struggled a little bit this year, but his immense power upside. He did hit 12 home runs in his 243 plate appearances this year. His slash was down 239, 333, 455, but 216 ISO for the year. Still, despite those reduced slash numbers, created runs 14% better than average. So I know he's hitting sixth now, but Cody Bellinger's a guy I always want to get to with this Dodgers team. So I have no problems rostering him at the price, and I really like the ownership numbers there. Similar on Max Muncy, he's exactly where I was hoping he would land as far as ownership goes. Lefty, he doesn't have any problems whatsoever. I wrote him up last night, and I'll see if I have it in front of me here. Yeah, Muncy, for his career, Muncy's got a 256, 362, 503 slash and a 247 ISO against lefties. 32% above average WRC plus, which is higher than his 25% above average WRC plus against righties. So he's an excellent option against left-handed pitching. So I can get to Max Muncy here as well. Hitting cleanup, first base, also 4,900 on DK, only 3,700 on FanDuel, under 13% ownership on FanDuel, only 16.7% on DraftKings. I think he's a terrific option there. So I can build with like that middle bottom part of that Dodgers lineup. And yeah, Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts. I love Corey Seager. I really like getting to those guys up top, but with the ownership where it is on those guys in the middle, I really like that. And I think that's where I would kind of live in my Dodger stacks here today.
All right. That's it, Ralph. EMac giveth, EMac taketh away. Never Bellinger. You're talking about the 2019 National League MVP who's batting sixth. Just what kind of an organization is the Dodgers? The embarrassment of riches is out of control there.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. Well, when you can lead off the AL MVP, it's I guess it's easy to drop him down a few spots in the order and not worry about it.
Yeah, aren't they still paying Carl Crawford and Matt Kemp in some fashion?
Hey, who was there? The Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla, so anything's possible.
I'm trying to think, they had an amazing splits hitter that I think could only hit lefties, or he could only hit lefties. I think I can't think of his name, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I think they're still paying him.
Not Enrique Hernandez.
No.
There's Enrique from 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah. For the Never Bellinger guy, just since I wrote it up the other day, I pulled it up while we were chatting there real quick. You mentioned in 2019, just last year, Bellinger won the National League MVP award. He had a 305, 406, 629 slash with 47 home runs in 660 plate appearances last year. He's just 25 years old. He has upside to grow, which is pretty scary. He already has 123 home runs in his career, which is 14.7 at-bats per home run pace through his age 24 season. That's third all time. That puts him behind, oddly, Adam Duvall, and then Hall of Famer Eddie Matthews, and ahead of Albert Pujols, Giancarlo Stanton, Willie Mays, and everyone else in baseball history. This is an absolute masher of a player. Always Cody Bellinger, not never Cody Bellinger. Always Cody Bellinger.
All right, I'm trying to find it. It's going to drive me insane. I'll think of it afterwards. Not Eric Karros. It was like way worse than that. Okay.
What could be?
Friend of the DFS industry, Al Zeidenfeld, actually named his baseball model after this guy, and it's just driving me nuts that I can't think of who it is. Oh, but in any event, we'll come to that. All right, so that's kind of walking through the Dodgers. We did just get the Houston lineup. Nothing surprising there. We're waiting on the Rays. My guess is they're still trying to figure out if Kevin Kiermaier is going to play or not. What did he hurt? Was it a wrist? Was it a thumb? I thought it was something on a hand. He got hit by a pitch or something. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I miss what the actual injury is. He's Kevin Kiermaier. I assume he hurts himself getting out of bed these days. I mean, that's kind of his game. He's always banged up somehow. Terrific outfielder when he's healthy, but he's just so hard to keep him in the lineup.
Yeah, hit by a pitch on the hand. Doesn't feel great. He did pinch run last night and stayed in the game for defense.
Which we might very well see him do again today.
Yeah. That makes more sense. So, in any event, really not going to drive us. And then we've got the projections up now, and not much is going to change, even when they do drop that lineup in theory here. All right, so back to... Well, let's keep moving on. So, if you're going against Charlie Morton here, I only like And this is why I ended up making Morton my favorite pitcher. I only like George Springer and Michael Brantley, and that's mostly because they're batting first and second and should get that fifth at bat and at least two at bats, not against Morton. So by default and reverse transitive properties, I've ended up on Charlie Morton as the pitcher I want to go to. What am I missing here from the Asterisks as they try to tie that 2004 vaunted Boston Red Sox team?
Yeah, look, they're a team they're a good team that was not hitting like themselves for most of the year, and now they are. It's not that they're getting hot. It's a rounding into form thing, I guess, if we want to use those kinds of terms. But these guys are on their numbers now. They're hitting like who they are, not some diminished version of who they are that everybody could speculate about trash cans and all these different things. You're getting the real George Springer, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, all these different guys. For the most part, they're showing up, and we're getting who they're supposed to be. Jose Altuve in particular struggled immensely for most of the year, but he's been very good through the playoffs. 210 plate appearances this year. He had a 219, 286, 344 slash. That's like half of Jose Altuve. And for a guy that short, getting half of Jose Altuve isn't very good. So, with him coming back to where he is, he's hitting second in the lineup now. I think there are definitely stacks to be built. Wrote up Brantley last night. I like him in the spot a lot. He doesn't have immense power, but he's very good at hitting, at creating runs and keeping the lineup turning over. 300, 364, 476 slash this year with a 34% above average WRC plus. Only hit 5 home runs and had a 176 ISO. But if you take it back, last year he hit 22 home runs, had a 191 ISO. So there is pop there. So I definitely like Brantley. And then I can build, pretty much top to bottom. I can get all the way down to Yuli Gurriel despite his recent struggles. I don't love rostering Josh Reddick or Martin Maldonado, but both of them are going to be trending around 10% ownership. So you can definitely get different there. On DK, Maldonado helps you get different with the catcher spot. Same thing with Zunino on the other side of this game. Most of the catching ownership is coming out of Will Smith and Travis d'Arnaud in the other game. So that might make some sense to look into that. Maybe, take a peek at the bottom of the Astros lineup, even though he's not a traditional wraparound type play where we're expecting him to act as a secondary leadoff man. Maybe you do go with a Maldonado from the bottom of the lineup and then play the top of the Astros just to make it a little bit different. But yeah, I think there are some good spots to go. And I'm kind of on the opposite end of that, I guess, as far as Morton would be the guy that I would more target out of this game. Like I was saying, I would rather have the pitcher going against the Rays. I would rather have the bats going against Morton if I'm picking one of the two sides of this one.
And you can't spell BVP without Martin Maldonado. 7 for 13 against Morton. However, 1 extra base hit, though only 1 strikeout. Just
Josh and I lectured everybody on BVP the other night with this specific matchup, and then he went out and Josh noticed the singles, and we gave him a little 5-minute lecture to everybody.
Oh, really? For Maldonado?
For this specific matchup, Maldonado against Morton.
I was not.
And then he went out and I think he hit another single and drove in a run or something like that.
There we go. Sorry, guys, missed the show, but maybe we'll get it a little Will Smith versus Will Smith action, just like in the movies. All right, that takes us to the Tampa Bay side. So let me come back and refresh everybody. So I said McCullers has an elite ground ball rate, almost 60% against righties since the beginning in 2018, 53% against lefties. Righties get a little more power or a little more home runs when they do put the ball in air, but still just basically 1 home run per 9.99. The one thing I did say is the pricing algorithms here seem to have not been able to keep up with Tampa Bay, changing people in the batting order and going lefty righty depending on what the pitchers are doing. So Austin Meadows is 3,600 on DraftKings. Just play him, right? Dealing with the oblique, but I think he's healthy. Okay, we'll play him. Ji-Min Choi, 2,600 on FanDuel. That's basically free over there on the blue side, as you like to call it. 41 on DK, palatable. Manny Margot, 2 home runs last night. Another good night. Familiar with the batter's eye here in Petco Park, having spent most of his career there. Not the best against righties, but still solid. And then Randy, I don't say his last name very well. Arozarena.
Not bad.
Not bad. Right.
Arozarena.
I don't roll the R's very well. My 2 years of high school Spanish The pronunciation is only worse than the accent.
My accent is terrible. I can roll the R's pretty well, though. I've got that the Cuban tongue. So, Rosarena.
Yes, Money Swish. I do know that Smith hit a home run off of Smith last night. That's why I can't think of the name of that. What was that terrible movie where Will Smith's trying to kill Will Smith?
Oh, the one that was out last year, Gemini Man.
Gemini Man. Look at you. The Gemini, the twins. There we go. All right.
Yeah, the cloned weird CGI young version of Will Smith. He's not going to be in this lineup, though.
Oh, Brian Claremont, because close. Am I thinking of Andre Ethier? That's the guy I liked. He was better against lefties. No. So the other guy must have been a lefty against righties. I believe it was a white guy, and I believe he was either first baseman or outfielder. And he was like basically best used off the bench. But extreme splits like Ethier. And by the way, I think they are still paying Ethier. Now that you mention that, which question was he answering? The guy I couldn't remember or a guy they're still paying? It could be both. So there we are. All right, back on track because we have 10 minutes in, probably 13 minutes in here. What do you want to do with the Tampa Bay Rays? I'm assuming that Kevin Kiermaier is not going to. Like Scott Van Slyke, thank you. That's who it is. And Al Smizzle named his baseball model Van Slyke.
Nice. That's a good conjure by whoever got that one. That was that one, not one I would have come up with.
No, and I was not giving the best hints either. So thank you. Do some
white guy who played baseball sometimes. I think held a bat in his hands when he was
had the platoon advantage. Got some power. There we are. All right.
Hey, speaking of platoon advantages, G-Man Choi, he's on the right side of his splits. You mentioned him. He's an option for me tonight on this Rays team. 145 plate appearances overall this year. He hit just 3 home runs. Had a 230, 331, 410 slash with a 180 ISO. WRC plus was 3% above average. A little bit bumpy for him. Not as good as we were expecting. But last year, 2019, 17 of his 19 home runs came against right-handed pitching. All 3 of the home runs this year came against right-handed pitching. He's on the right side of his splits. 35 of his career 38 home runs have come against right-handed pitching. Overall, 257, 356, 478 slash with a 221 ISO and a WRC plus 25% above average. This is the right spot to play him. You mentioned he's cheap. He's basically a free square on FanDuel. I was expecting the ownership to be above 25% over there, and it's right around 25%. So I think he's very playable there. 4,100 is keeping the ownership down a little bit, 22% on DK. I think he's very much in play if you're building with Rays over there. So I like getting to that. You mentioned Meadows. He's probably my favorite hitter in this lineup. Definitely at those prices. That's an absolute free square on DraftKings. FanDuel, I like it a lot as well. Everybody else is going there, though. There are a lot of people on it. So you can differentiate a little bit by paying up to a Rosarena, or you can go down to Manny Margot again, who has been making everybody in the world know his name. He was kind of an anonymous player that was decent for fantasy. He's got power upside, speed upside, never really strung it together like we've seen over the last few days, but only 16% owned on DK, 17% on FanDuel. I definitely think he's in play again tonight. So that would be where I'd make my living with these Rays. Would be again in the middle of that lineup. Brandon Lowe up at the top of the lineup, 33% owned on DK, 43% on FanDuel. It's asking a lot out of him. Again, in a good spot, another hitter on the right side of his splits. But maybe you play Mike Zunino there and sacrifice the plate appearance instead. Only 9% owned. You pick off some of the home run upside. 2,200 on FanDuel, 39 on DK is a little bit expensive for him, but again, nobody really going to be on him. Mandatory catcher play on DK, so maybe you get different with your catcher there. Similar kind of idea to what Maldonado was on the Astros. You're not looking at him to set the table for the guys at the top of the lineup. You're looking at maybe we pick off a cheap home run that nobody's going to be on. So pretty much top to bottom there. Yeah, I don't really expect Kiermaier either. Probably a defensive replacement also, so I wouldn't really roster him.
Yep, I'm just double checking that I don't have him in projections. By the way, your trick on projections, I never knew. So if you're using Fantasy Cruncher and you want to get those relievers in there, if you just upload them and anybody that has an active player name who's in the whatever site you're playing on in the Fantasy Cruncher player pool. Just once you upload those projections, hit refresh, they'll show up. It's cool. It hurts you occasionally when you're still uploading injured batters or something like that, but it is a nice way to get in just the relievers, and you could always just do a quick little upload of those relievers only to make sure you're not bringing in a bunch of extra stuff. But hitting the refresh, very important on that one. And then, oh, good, because we do have Kiermaier projected, so I am not projecting Kiermaier. I'm gonna. Do you assume it's Sasugo? In some fashion.
I'm not looking at it.
Just say because he's a lefty. That's all I.
Yeah, I would find it unlikely that it would be Renfroe or somebody like that. So probably, I think that makes sense.
They do last. Oh, because they were facing a lefty last night, so we can't really go off.
Renfroe
of
started the game yesterday.
Yep. All right, so let's see. Do some up. Hit me up on Twitter, EMac Dfs, and I will see about getting you a free week there. That was a good trivia poll. You earned that one for sure. All right, what do we got? 9 minutes to go here. Oh, go ahead and throw in some questions here, guys. I'm doing my upload, but I got to go delete some Kevin Kiermaier lineups, which is no problem. Kiermaier only hits home runs on Sundays, so that's not a problem for him.
And they're, no matter what happens, they are not going to be playing on Sunday this week.
That is true. Well, it is 2020, Terry. Did you ever read the Iowa Baseball Confederacy by Ray Kinsella? Or by W.P. Kinsella? Who was it? Yeah, whoever that was. No?
No.
It's W.P. Kinsella. Same guy who wrote Field of Dreams. Okay. So the Iowa Baseball Confederacy is this about a game that is tied and they play well over 1,000 innings. They just keep playing every day.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's been 25 years since I've read it, but
I'm gonna jot it down. I wasn't familiar with it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. You can probably get it for a song over there on eBay or Amazon Reserve. Meadows or Correa?
Meadows or Correa?
Yep.
It's a weird little either or. I'll play the ownership game and lean to the Correa side of that one. Drawing a little bit less ownership on DK. Similar-ish on FanDuel. Yeah, I would probably go Correa. They project fairly similarly for me. Getting a little bit better of a home run mark in my home run model for Correa than I am for Meadows, which is a little surprising for me, actually. I would have expected Meadows to be on the upside there. So yeah, give me Correa in that one.
Is Altuve a lock? And yes, thank you, Chad. I did not acknowledge this. Thank you for letting me know that he is batting second. I overlooked him. Is Altuve a lock? Stealing your joke there. Yes, that's what they're asking.
I mean, no. How many lineups are you building? I wouldn't put him in 150 times.
Elizabeth also, she's asking about Altuve being locked and about Meadows, Brantley, and Tucker being locked. I could probably get behind Meadows. I don't hate the idea of Brantley because we still have two other outfield spots. But when we're looking at those other spots, I want some differentiation when they're only single incumbent positions.
Yeah, so if you're going that route, also if you're building Altuve and Brantley in the 2-3 spots in the lineup and then jumping to the 6th spot, not the greatest overall correlation in that stack. If you're talking about a 3-man Houston stack there, I might look to try and get a more connected hitter with like a Correa or a Springer. But obviously you're paying more for those guys. So it depends what you're doing overall. But in baseball, I don't consider anybody a lock in any situation. I said it yesterday. If it was Mike Trout, I could argue against Mike Trout. There are a lot of games where Mike Trout's going to give you 1 for 5 with a single. There's a lot of games where Mike Trout's going to give you, a 30-point performance in fantasy, but it's baseball. Guys more often than not do not succeed. So nobody's ever really a lock for me. I like Jose Altuve today. I definitely would consider him. It's a $5K price tag on DK is a lot to pay for a second baseman. 4,000 on FanDuel, similar kind of a thing. So, yeah, given all that, no, I can't say that he's a lock.
All right. if you were stacking one team, who would it be?
I wonder what Alex has to say about that. I kind of was looking at the Braves just from what I was doing, but I'm only really throwing in one lotto ticket lineup tonight on DK. Alex has them second, and they're picking up a little bit of an ownership advantage, so I'm going to stick with that as my answer. Just looking at the top stacks tool, I think that makes the most sense to me. Houston and Tampa are the bottom two out of the four, and they're both drawing slightly more ownership than what their probability of being in the top two is. And then the Dodgers are drawing right around even. It's all very, very tight. I mean, everybody's around, between 20 and 30% to be in the top two. So it's tough to gauge, but I think Atlanta there, you maybe get the short start out of Bueller, and I talked up their quality against right-handed pitching. So that's kind of what I would lean into. It's been a favorite go-to for me all season long. Plus I got a little rooting interest on them. So why not?
Any regrets of anybody not making your lineup?
Any regrets of people not making my lineup? Talk to me at around midnight, and I'll tell you exactly who I regret not playing.
All right, I'm quickly buckling up for my final lineups here so I can upload this. So let's see. Talk about taking hitters against your pitchers, please.
So 2-game slate, I think it's in play. Of course, like it has been through these playoffs. It makes some sense. It takes you down different paths of construction than everybody else is going to, and it opens up things that you can do to potentially spend up for other bats. So sometimes I like to do it with one of the more value hitters who maybe is on the right side of his splits, maybe isn't one of the more popular guys. Save a little bit on price, save a little bit on ownership by taking that specific guy against your hitter, and then getting up and just make sure that you're using your money well if you do that, I guess, because you are taking a negative value position against your pitcher there. So make sure that it makes sense with what you're doing.
All right, Kiermaier is in the lineup. If you want to go look and I've got to get my stuff uploaded. If you want to look and see or tell anybody anything that changed with that one that caught you off guard.
Just looking at him in the lineup, hitting eighth.
Ninth. He's batting ninth.
So that kind of bumps Zunino up more into a play for the back end of like a mid lineup stack. If you were building from like a Meadows, Choi, Joey Wendell, you could do a 4-man Meadows, Choi, Joey Wendell, Zunino there, and then it kind of puts Kiermaier in play as a wraparound. I like that spot for him because now he's a guy who does somewhat act as a secondary leadoff man coming back around, and we get Manny Margot up at the top of the lineup too. So that's an interesting construction for the Rays. I like what they're doing there. I could definitely see a 9-1-2-3 being in play, a 9-1-2-4, something like that. I definitely think there's some room to build with the Rays now. That makes their lineup pretty dynamic.
All right, I got my stuff uploaded. There we go. So reminder, guys, as we are up to a lock here, we've got 3 hours nonstop NFL starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. taking you up to lock. That is Eastern time. You get the deep dive with Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, Ben Raza, and Dave Lochran. And then you get the question and answer show. Is that what we're going with, Terry?
Yeah. Yep, we are the Q&A show now.
For a little half hour, you and is it Matt Kajeski tomorrow?
Yep, me and Matt Kajeski.
All right. And then up to lock, you're going to get, let's see, Josh Engelman and Greg Ehrenberg. And then live before lock for Sunday Night Football, you're going to get myself and Kyle Dvorak. So we've got you covered tomorrow. 4 hours of NFL. If you want to see in the can right now, we have On the Contrary. Special guest this week was Rich Rebar. That is available on the Awesemo YouTube channel right now. It's also available for download on the Awesemo Podcast Network. All of our shows outside of Live Before Lock are on the Awesemo Podcast Network. We are on literally every podcast platform you can think of, and we've also split out our channels. We have the main channel that we put all the shows on, but then we also carve out golf, baseball, football. We will be covering out basketball when that comes back around, but definitely worth checking out. So if you're someone that'll, got a lot of stuff on your phone, you only want to save 2 or 3 episodes, you can just pick it by sport, because otherwise we're doing 4, 5, 6 shows a day. It's crazy. Today we've been running nonstop. You've got NASCAR, that's also in the can. Jason Floyd went over that with Phil, and the race tomorrow is at 2:30. I believe they're in Kansas, which is kind of a mid-tier track. Not really cookie cutter track per se, but not really that unique. So, or what I call the cookie cutter tracks.
It's not like a triangle or something?
No, that would be Dover, the monster mile. But just throwing that out there. But all right, that's going to do it for us. I think you could follow Terry over there on Twitter at, what is it? DigitalB21. All right. You can find me at EMac Dfs. And if you know who, if you got the Van Slyke answer, hit me up on Twitter. We'll get you a free week here. And lastly, you guys want to get in Slack? Here's an easy way to do it. I'm going to tell you. The Awesemo NFL Express package, $3.95 a week, gets all Showdown content and a variety of other NFL content, but you do get the keys to Slack. That's where you're going to want to be. That's where it's happening. And Slack isn't just for that channel. It's for all of them. So check that out. With that, gamers, good luck.